Hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast, where I am chatting with the incredible Erica Carrico, an award-winning soul business success coach who helps women turn their life purpose into 6 and 7 figure soul-aligned businesses, all about her journey from the corporate and non-profit worlds to building a thriving business completely aligned with who she is and how you can do the same. Join us as she shares what it really means to build a soul aligned business and why it changes everything. How to find and refine your niche so that your work speaks directly to the people that you are meant to serve. Her proven roadmap for growing your business organically with no ads and no funnels and no endless posting on social media. The biggest mindset shifts for overcoming imposter syndrome and moving from your job into full-time entrepreneurship, and how she balances motherhood and business as a single mom, all while building a purpose-led life on her own terms. If you have been craving a more alignment, freedom, and flow in your business, this one is for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Unapologetic Mompreneur, the podcast for mums with an online business who are ready to take back their time, home, business, and self so they can restore the balance and thrive, both at home and at work, without feeling like they have to choose between the two. I'm your host, Sarah Dew, life and biz coach for mompreneurs. I'm also a mum, stepmom, wife, introvert, breast cancer survivor, and your mentor for making a change for the better. I've learned how to go from surviving to thriving and unapologetically create a business I love and the life I want for me and my family without worrying about what other people think. And now I'm here to help you do the same. Because being an unapologetic mompreneur doesn't mean that we're selfish or that we don't care about others. It simply means that we are not afraid to show up as our true, authentic selves, to step into our purpose, do what we know is right for ourselves and the ones we love, and take the steps we need to take to make our dream life and business a reality. Join me each week where I'll be sharing all of my best tips and strategies, plus the occasional dose of tough but gentle love to help you feel empowered, motivated, and confident to take action so that you can become the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. So, are you ready to unapologetically create a business and life you love? Let's do this. Hey, Erica, and welcome to the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are absolutely welcome. I'm really, really looking forward to what we're going to be diving in today, talking all about building a soul-aligned business. And I'm looking forward to
Same.
everything that you are going to be sharing. So before we dive in, just in case anybody hasn't met you before, do you want to just share a little bit about you, your family, your journey to where you are now, and what inspired you to become a soul business success coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like everybody, it's been such a journey for me getting here, and nothing has ever really happened for me the easy way. Landed in corporate, I think based on, I always knew that I was here for something a little bit different. I didn't want to have the traditional life, but I think, I did a lot of like traveling and I did a lot of really fun jobs. Like I worked at ski school and I worked as a tour guide and I kind of was like really trying to follow my heart in my early 20s. And then, fear takes over and societal expectations come into play. And it's like, you need to get a real job and start sustaining yourself. And so yeah, I fell into corporate recruitment and I figured, if I can't figure out what I'm going to do, then I'll help other people figure out what they want to do. And I did that for many years. That took me over to Australia. I lived in Australia for a long time as well. But just I hit this burnout phase. And it was like, I had this reality that I was working 12 hours a day. I was earning millions of dollars for a company that had millions of dollars. I knew I wasn't going to be able to have a family working this career. I felt like everything was Groundhog Day. And I knew I wasn't living my purpose. I knew I wasn't sharing my gifts or my medicine with the world. And I just kind of felt like I was wasting my life away. And so long story short, This was back in 2009. The economy crashed, and my husband at the time and I decided, well, let's just go on a year-long backpacking trip, and before we have our family. And so we did. We spent a lot of time in developing countries, and I realized on that trip that I would never go back to corporate. So I wanted to start my own business. My major was in psychology. I had worked with life coaches before, but I was getting ready to get married and start a family, and so everyone was like, well, you need a real job. You can't be a coach. You can't start your own business. So I did what was like the responsible thing, quote unquote, and I took out a $60,000 loan to go and get my master's degree in nonprofit management. So I took a six-figure pay cut, had a $60,000 loan, and I was earning $29,000 a year as the executive director of a not-for-profit organization. And that still felt like a safer option than starting my business, which is crazy to me. So, long story short, 5 years later, back in the same kind of boat where I felt like I was so burnt out. At this point, I had two kids. My marriage wasn't doing great. I was working full time, and I was still, yes, I was making a difference in the world by working in the not-for-profit industry, but I still was building somebody else's dream, right? I still wasn't doing my work, and I wasn't earning enough money to even support my family. So, I was diagnosed with cancer, and that kidney cancer as a breastfeeding mom. I was 36, and that was like a huge wake up call for me. Like, you cannot keep living the life that you're living. And I accepted that I actually might die and I might not be here. And I have not lived the life that I want to live. I have not put my own work out there that has been, I feel like I've been holding it inside for all these years. And I've just been using fear and everybody else's opinions as what I should do. So that was a real turning point for me. And I started my business. Actually, a few years after that, I left my marriage, and I really spent the following years letting go of everything in my life that was no longer serving me and really building it up with only things that were. And I kind of made a commitment to God or spirit or whoever, the universe, that however long I have left on this planet, I will be of service. And that is what I am doing.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I can definitely resonate. I mean, not only with just like the whole Groundhog Day and building somebody else's empire, and that's a lot of reason why so many of us actually decide to set our own businesses up. But I too, at 36, was diagnosed with breast cancer, and that was my wake up call as well. So I can definitely like resonate with exactly that. And that I'd made exactly the same. I'd made a promise to myself that if I got through that, I was going to do what I could and, to live life more intentionally. And it really made me realize that what I was focusing on were the wrong things, and that's now why I'm doing what I'm doing. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. I really, really appreciate that. And
Yeah,
I
for
just,
sure.
I love that you've now taken that direction and you're doing something that is your purpose and your calling and fills you up. Which, yeah, let's dive into that, because that really brings us nice onto the first thing that I wanted to ask you. As a soul business success coach, what does soul aligned business mean, and why is it important, do you think, for everybody running a business, and for you, and for what you take your clients through?
I personally feel like we all have our own work that we're here to bring to the world. I really believe that we all come here as souls for our own evolution, but I also feel like we come here I think we're here to bring our own love and our own light and our own work to the world. And I think that we're here to heal humanity or the world in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether it's like on a larger scale or a smaller scale, or whether it's working with people or whether it's working with the earth. And so for me, it's like building a business for the sake of building a business, just it doesn't work. I've seen too many people try and build a business for the sake of money, and it doesn't work, right? Things get hard, challenges happen, and it's like, okay, I'm just going to quit this. But when we feel like we're building a business that's aligned with our soul, we feel like we're building a business that's aligned with who we are, why we're here, and this is a part of our mission and our life purpose. The challenge is like we have to get back up. There isn't a plan B. It's like, well, yeah, that's hard, or this didn't work, but I have to figure this out because I'm not here to do anything else. I'm here to do this. So for me, it's very much aligning our work and how we're earning money with our divine gifts. And so the way that I teach business is not only having an offering that's really aligned with your work and being able to help heal, being able to do your work in the world, but also like how can we align the marketing also with who we are at soul level so that it becomes fun and so that we love business and so that it actually works and flows instead of trying to implement a bunch of strategies that really don't align with us. It just doesn't work. I've seen it so many times. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, that's exactly what this podcast is about, of being unapologetic and leaning in and doing things that are in alignment with you and what works for you. And that's what I take my clients through too, is that very much that your biz, your way of ditching the noise and just following and doing everything in alignment, whether it's your products, your services, and everything else that we do. And it's just so important to just, and like you said, that is just so true. Once we're tapping into what is right for us, all of the content, all the marketing, everything just flows, doesn't it? And it becomes so much easier. And I firmly believe too that we are here for a reason and we've got something to do. And that's 9 times out of 10, that's why most of us start our businesses, isn't it? Because we're passionate about something, that we're called to do something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think, yeah, definitely. That's the space that I work in anyways.
Amazing. I love that. So I know that you've got a proven roadmap for building a successful business. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. I've been working with soulful business owners, I suppose, since 2018, 2019, and just really have refined this process. And it's getting, women, well, I work mostly with women in my groups, I suppose. I do definitely work with men, but it's really getting women to getting their business to the point where they're earning around 10,000 a month organically. So I teach without ads, I teach without funnels, I teach no social media, getting to 10,000 a month organically without those strategies. And then once you're ready to scale past that, we do pull those strategies in place. But yeah, the way that I teach it is really around having like a signature workshop that can either be online or in person. And of course, I'd go into details on how to actually create that and convert that. But I get that workshop to where it's converting at 80%. And that's sort of the front end strategy. And then what happens behind the scenes is we're, helping people to increase their visibility and build their email list through getting published in the media and through getting on podcasts. So one, that kind of kills two birds with one stone. It really definitely builds your list. And so it gives you a new, like pool to fish from, I suppose. When you are making new offers every single month, you actually have new people that you're making offers to. And it increases your credibility, right? So like when someone's Google searching you, or they're looking for a specific coach or a healer or whatever it is that your niche is, they are, going to find, let's say, someone like you where you've been seen on these podcasts and you've been published in this media and you're speaking here. You're going to be so much more credible than somebody else that they find who's just endlessly posting on the hamster wheel of social media, right? So like it really does so much more than bringing clients, but it just puts you in that authority figure in your space as well.
Amazing. And that's such a great way to grow your list, isn't it? Because without those kind of things, you would never come across the person that's doing it. And it's just borrowing other people's audiences like that is just one of my favorite ways to grow. And it's so much fun, isn't it? Doing podcast swaps and talking and building, and just the difference it makes with your credibility, definitely.
For
Excellent.
sure.
So you mentioned niches there. How do how is it important, do you think, for entrepreneurs to find their niche, and what steps do you suggest for them for identifying that? Do you find it works better if they're like doing their workshop and everything, if they've got their niche nailed?
Oh yeah, you have to have that. So anytime someone comes to work with us, the very first thing that we do with them is get clear on what their niche is. So what is your niche? Who is your ideal client? What are their pain points? What is the transformation you're actually creating with them? Because if you don't have that in place, there's no point in having a workshop, right? Like if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So 100%, we have to know what your niche is before we can create your offer. And then, of course, we have to know what your offer is before we can create your workshop. So there's these foundational pieces that definitely need to be put in place. And I think it's so crucial to have those in place first, because if you start marketing without being clear on your niche or your offer or the transformation that you're making in today's market, yeah, it's you don't know where the problems are, right? Like if you're not bringing in clients, you don't know if it's with your niche, you don't know if it's with your offer, you don't know if it's with your marketing. So we have to get clear on a viable niche first. And I have a whole process that I take people through to get clear on what that is. And then we have to know what your offer is before we even start marketing. So we get really clear on those two things before we even get our clients to the point where they are marketing, if that makes sense. Without the
Yeah,
foundation in place, yeah, it's just too hard to know where things are going wrong when things aren't working.
yeah. And you say it's crucial to have the niche before you start designing what your offer is as well, isn't
Yes.
it?
Oh my gosh, totally. I don't even know how you would make an offer if you don't know what your niche is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So somebody is just thinking maybe they're not sure if they've maybe they haven't even decided on their niche yet, or they're not sure if it's the right niche for them. Have you got any sort of tips that people can take themselves through if they're listening to this and thinking, that's great, I've kind of got an inkling of something I want to offer, but I don't really know if it's the right thing, if or even if I've got a niche, what sort of things can you offer, like strategies could they use to actually help me get started on that?
Yeah, I honestly, my whole second module in Soul Business Accelerator is around finding your niche. And so there's like a bunch of questions and a bunch of workshops, but I think essentially it's like really getting clear on, from an overall strategic perspective, without going into like the millions of questions. I think it'd be really getting clear on one, what you love, right? So what do you really love to do? And then what are you naturally good at, or what skill sets do you have that you can kind of build upon? And then I think a perfect niche is how can you combine those two things to then create value in the world in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's really where that incredible space is of a niche to be in, is what you're naturally good at and what you really love to do.
Amazing. Do you find a lot of your clients are kind of their niche and ideal client is kind of them a couple of years ago or a few steps behind?
I
Yeah.
mean, almost 100% of the time. Like they say, we teach what we needed to learn, right? And especially in the coaching space, it's usually if someone's in the coaching space, or even the healers, they are, yeah, you need just being about two steps ahead of where you once were.
Amazing. I'm really glad you shared that actually, because I think a lot of the time, and especially something I've experienced, is that whole imposter syndrome of who am I to do this? Am I good enough and everything else? And that sometimes, and I see that in my clients too, is that, they held themselves back because they actually feel like they aren't good enough and they have to be an expert and know everything. So I think that's really important that you shared that you've only got to be a couple of steps ahead, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Amazing. That's incredible. So when you're working with your clients then, what are some of the common challenges that they tend to face when starting their businesses and how do you help them overcome them?
Well, one of the things that we've been facing recently, or I've been seeing a lot of inside my program, is people are feeling really shameful around having to have a job while they're building their business. Or, a lot of people I think have left corporate or they've been laid off and they think that they can just jump into starting a business and that it's going to replace their income right away. And they feel really shameful when it doesn't. And I've been seeing this so much with my own clients and our students. And it's like, I don't know hardly anybody that's in the financial position to be able to leave their job and just start a business and not have to have any kind of a transition period. I mean, most of us are not in the financial situation where we can do that. And it puts so much pressure on the business, right? That you're trying to like get clients from a place of scarcity and lack. And oh my gosh, I need this to work and I need this client. And that's just not a great place to be. So I think I had a full-time job while I was getting my business to where I needed it to be. And I didn't quit my job until my business was earning like 5 or 6 thousand a month consistently. A lot of people are going and getting part-time jobs or they're taking a part-time job while they're building their business on the side. And I think that that's totally fine. That is so normal and so natural. I think that's been a big one that I've seen recently anyway.
That's really interesting because you're right, when we leave and corporate and want to set up, it can feel like there's that so much pressure that you've got to make it work and you've got to have everything right from when you very start. But like you say, it takes time, doesn't it? And I've had my business for 8 years. I had a business before I had my boy as well. And both of them, they took time and there's no harm in going and working at the same time. So yeah, I appreciate that you shared that. Are there any others common problems that you've seen recently that come up as well?
I mean, I think fear and imposter syndrome are really big too, but I also think that, the people who I think the women who really struggle the most are the ones who are like the perfectionist, or they try something once or twice, or they hear a no, or they get rejected, and then they're like, this is never going to work. So then they quit and they try something else, right? It's like, I think really getting a business going takes trying things and takes failing something, learning some lessons, right? That didn't work, but it doesn't mean that that's not like, let's say you do a workshop and your first one is a total bomb. Well, that doesn't mean that workshops aren't going to work for you. It just means that that one didn't. So what do we need to learn from it? What do we need to refine from it? How do we need to try again? And so I think a lot of women, they'll try and then they might not have some successes, but it's usually because they're not giving themselves enough time to actually master a skill set, and then they switch to something else. And then now they've lost all that momentum and that traction in that one space that they could have definitely taken further, but they've switched and they're almost starting over again. So it's like when they're constantly flip-flopping and switching, they're not getting traction anywhere. And then it feels like a huge failure. And I see that all the time too.
Yeah, it's interesting because again, it's back to that pressure, isn't it? That we think it's got to work straight away, and it takes tweaking and testing, and it's not going to work the first time, but it doesn't mean that it's failing, does it? And we, like you said, we can learn so much from that we can then apply in the next one.
Right, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Amazing. So let's just switch gears a little bit, talking about being a mum running a business, and balance is something that comes up an awful lot with my clients, and I know a lot of the listeners and struggle with that. And when we're trying to run businesses and juggling all the things and everything, so how do you maintain balance in your life whilst running a successful coaching business?
Oh, I think it's definitely harder some stages of business than others. Sometimes I feel like I've really got the balance down. I guess I do hire a lot. I have hired a lot in my business and I have hired a lot in my home because I think for me, I'm divorced and so I'm a single mom. And so for me, it's like I want to be there for my kids. And so I don't work, godly hours and I don't work until they go to school, and then when they get off at 3:30 I'm the one running them to all the places. So for me it's really been hiring in my business where I need to hire and hiring in my home also, so that when like I don't actually do the laundry anymore and I don't clean my house and I have someone do meal prep because those things take too much time and my time is valuable other places, I think. So it's really been a journey of figuring out, where I need to hire and how do I want to spend my time, and putting work down, and trusting also that because I am a mom, I am going to have a slower path and I can't do the things that a lot of my mentors can do. And it took me a while to realize that I had gotten my business to where it was earning like 150,000 or 200,000 a month. And it was like all the people that I was in this mastermind with, not only were they not moms, they were not single moms, and they all had husbands that actually worked in their business. And so I was trying to like compete at that level, and it's like I have nothing there. I don't have the energy and the mental capacity or the physical capacity that these women have, and I have to know that I have to be okay with my journey being a little bit different. And it's not going to be as fast as somebody else's, and it might not be able to be as big of a company as what I want it to be because my priority is my kids. And so I actually got to a point where I started scaling back because it was like bigger didn't feel successful to me. Bigger was taking up too much of my time. And I think smaller, simpler, and more streamlined is a better road for me right now at the stage of my life with my kiddos. So yeah, it's a journey. Wow.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. Thank you for sharing that, because okay, I keep saying pressure, but it is back to that pressure of having to do it all. And actually, a really valuable point that you shared there was recognizing that the people around you may be in a different space and a different situation to you, that actually honing in on what works for you and not being afraid to ask for help. That is
Yeah,
something that we just struggle with so much, don't we? But actually it's not a sign of weakness. Asking for
right.
help is that sign of strength, isn't it? So I love that you've hired out at home as well as at work too. So if some of the people listening are thinking about maybe that they could do that little bit of extra help, how did you go about like identifying both in business and home where it was time to hire out?
I did not grow up with money, and so I had to learn these things. I think there was a point in time where I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I was like crying every day, and the coach I was working with at the time was like, "What are all the things that you need to do?" And so I listed all these things. I was like, "I got to go pick up dog poop in the backyard. I need to mow my lawn. I need to do my laundry. I haven't changed my sheets. I don't know the last time I changed my towel." And she's like, "What are you doing, Erica? Like, what honestly are you, what?" She's like, "I haven't folded laundry in 5 years." And I was like, "Wait, what?" My mind just blew open. Like, there's people that help you in your home. I mean, I just had no idea. And so I've had to learn, how to delegate in my business and in my home, and honestly do a lot of work around feeling worthy of that too. And, I guess for me also, it's like I would choose to outsource that stuff. And so I will bring in less money into my own pocket so that I can have more time. So everyone's values are different, right? And I think for me, I really value time at this stage in my life. And so it's been learning how to balance delegating and being able to manage the cash flow also while having the time that I need to spend with my kids. So yeah, it's no joke. I always have a coach because otherwise I wouldn't be where I am right now. I need that guidance and that mentorship.
Yeah, incredible. It's so powerful having a coach, isn't it? And especially when you're just starting out, you're wanting to tap into things and making it, it's your passion and touch and soul aligned and everything to be able to do that. I think what you're doing is just incredible and so, so important because if we want to thrive in our businesses, we've got to be in touch with who we are and what we want to offer, don't we? So
Right.
I love that that's what you are doing. This is amazing. Is there anything before we wrap up? I've got a question that I always like to ask all of my guests, but before we wrap up, have you got any like final words of advice or anything that you would like to share about what you do and what could really help?
Yeah, I think just remembering that we all have a purpose. I think we're all here for a reason. And I think that, building a business is not only the best way to really live that and I think have the impact that we know we're destined to have, but it's also such a vehicle for financial freedom. Like I see so many people right now losing their jobs, and my ex-husband just lost his job for the second time in the last 4 years. And he's like, I'm so tired of having my life in somebody else's hands. He's like, I know I need to start a business now because I'm so tired of having my financial situation in somebody else's hands. And now he's a sitting duck. He's like, got to go out there and try and figure out who's going to hire me, who's going to hire me, who's going to hire me, who's going to. Whereas we as entrepreneurs, once we have that skill set, we can go and create our own income. And we're not relying on somebody else out here to give us money, right? So it's like real financial freedom, I think, is a skill set. And that's what I teach in my programs. And that's really what you're learning when you're becoming an entrepreneur is financial freedom.
Absolutely, I totally agree. It's having that time freedom, financial freedom, living our passions, doing something, filling our calling and everything, isn't it? It's just such an amazing thing to be doing. Now, I know you've got a freebie, your proven roadmap to growing and scaling your soul aligned business. So, do you want to share about that and where people can get it? And do you want to share something about your program as well? Tell us about your program.
Yeah, for sure. They can just DM me on Instagram, which is just Erica Carrico, and I'll send that free training your way. Or they can go to my website. There's, all my courses and programs are listed on my website, just ericacarrico.com. And my program is really just around, it's a year long. It's everything that you need to get your business from $0 or even just concept or idea to a six-figure business. So to consistent $10,000 a month. And we help you with everything from niche to putting your offer in place. We know what works out there. We know what doesn't work. So we can get that super dialed in pretty much in the second week of the program. And then the rest of the time is spent on all of the marketing and really putting a consistent marketing plan in place so that you can bring in consistent income and you have consistent clients and you're always building your pipeline so you're not freaking out every single month wondering, how you're going to pay your bills and where your next clients are going to come from.
Amazing. That sounds incredible. We will make sure that the links for all of those are in the show notes. Definitely go and check those out. Go and snag her proven roadmap to growing as well. One of the questions I always love to ask all of my guests before we finish up is what does being an unapologetic mompreneur mean to you? And how are you showing up unapologetically every day, both as a mum and as the boss of your business?
Oh, I love that so much. Oh, I didn't even have anything planned for this answer. Um, Honestly, I think I think what I'm just most proud of over the years is what I have been able to show my kids. It's like I left the marriage, I left my job, I do it on my own. I did not, downgrade my life when I got divorced. I actually upgraded it. And I think it was, so much better for my kids to see me. They do spend time with their dads. It's so much better for them to not be with me every single day, but to see me in my fullest self-expression, right? Doing the work that I'm here to do, not settling in a marriage that does not belong to me, that is not serving me or them anymore, and really making the big, hard changes in order to make your life better. And it's just, yeah, I think it's been a real example for them of you can earn a living doing what you love, and you can, yeah, find a way to make it work around your life while still being a super present mom as well.
I love that. And it's so incredibly empowering for them, isn't it, to see that they can do their own, follow their own choices, follow their dreams, that it's okay to do that.
Yeah, that's what I always tell my kids. I never ask them like, I never ask them what kind of job they want to have when they grow up. It's like, who do you want to be? And, they're like, it's like my daughter's so creative and it's really nurturing her acting and she wants to start a restaurant. My son is into like day trading and investing. And I think really being able to nurture that entrepreneurial spirit from a young age is so beautiful.
Wonderful. I love that so much. Thank you for this. This has been so much fun and such great nuggets of getting started, niching, the power of tapping in and having a solo line business as well. It's amazing. Like I said, we'll make sure that all of the links are in the show notes. So definitely go and connect with Erica, go and send her a DM, go and say hello, and go and snag her free guide as well. And yeah, go and check out everything. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on here. It's been incredible.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are very welcome. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, for watching on YouTube if you are as well. And I can't wait to chat with you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me for another installment of the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I would love for you to leave me a rating and a review so that other mompreneurs can find this podcast too. Here's to unapologetically becoming the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. I can't wait to chat with you in the next episode. Bye for now.